Germany's conservative leader Friedrich Merz on Tuesday failed to gain the majority needed to become chancellor. It marked an unexpected setback for his new coalition with the centre-left Social Democrats. In this first round of parliamentary votes, Merz needed 316 votes in the 630-seat Bundestag, but only secured 310. The lower house of parliament now has 14 days to elect either Merz or another candidate chancellor with an outright majority, and could attempt another vote on Tuesday. Merz's Conservatives won national elections in February with 28.5% of the vote, but the party needs at least one partner to form a majority government. On Monday, they signed a coalition deal with the Social Democrats, who won just 16.4%. It marked their worst result in German post-war history.
OpenAI has dialed back its plan to turn into a for-profit company, announcing its non-profit parent will stay in control, according to its CEO Sam Altman Monday. It's the latest after years of legal challenges and boardroom drama for the AI maker of ChatGPT that at one point 2 years ago saw members of the non-profit board ousting Altman over a breakdown in trust. In a blog post, Altman said OpenAI will remain a non-profit that would still control its for-profit arm. Back in December, Altman first proposed a set of restructuring plans that turns OpenAI's for-profit arm into a public benefit corporation, a structure that gives shareholders returns while the firm still focuses on social goals. But those plans would see the non-profit parent ceding control. OpenAI said Monday that instead the non-profit part will keep a grip on the company while it pushes ahead with restructuring its for-profit arm to help raise more capital. Monday's announcement is a major win for OpenAI's critics. The firm's earlier plans to move to an outright for-profit drew backlash on whether it had strayed too far from its original aim to develop AI for the public good. Meanwhile, despite Monday's announcement, Elon Musk, a co-founder of OpenAI, says he'll proceed with his lawsuit against Altman and his firm. The suit seeks to block OpenAI's transition to a for-profit business. Musk earlier this year made an unsolicited $97 billion bid for OpenAI that was rejected by Altman. OpenAI in March said it would raise up to $40 billion in a new funding round by SoftBank, which valued the startup at $300 billion. After Monday's move, Altman said OpenAI would still be able to receive funding from the Japanese tech investor.
In Congo, the M23 rebels now face a mundane but daunting new task: governing. They've defeated Congo's army to take control of the eastern part of one of Africa's most populous nations. But the long-term success of their uprising depends in large part on reviving the economy in seized areas. This fabric vendor in the M23-controlled city of Goma complains that a crisis is mounting because virtually all banks are closed. With supply chains disrupted, prices of some staples have jumped. Currency shortages are another problem. On top of all that, the insurgents are now imposing new taxes on residents to finance their revolution, duties as high as 20% on small-time traders. This is Rochelle Monimpo, another fabric vendor.
We have serious problems with the taxes. Customers no longer come, but at the end of each month, we are still asked to pay the tax. It is becoming very difficult for us to find the money to pay this tax.
In the town of Rubaya, M23 has moved quickly to tighten its grip on a slice of Congo's vast mineral wealth. Mines here produce 1/6 of the world's supply of coltan, a metallic ore used in smartphones. M23 now charges a 15% tax on the value of the coltan production, according to rebel officials. That could mean up to $450,000 in monthly tax income for them, according to an estimate by one government expert. M23 is keen to demonstrate that life in rebel-held areas is returning to normal. The group has nominated governors and is training thousands of local administrators to take control of civil services. One analyst tells Reuters if M23 fails to shore up the economy and restore essential services, it could undermine the group's claims to legitimate governance.
In an effort to lure scientists to Europe, France and the European Union on Monday announced €500 million worth of incentives for researchers. The pledge comes amid U.S. President Donald Trump's clashes with top U.S. universities. Here's EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen.
Science is an investment, and we need to offer the right incentives. This is why I can announce that we will put forward a new €500 million package for 2025 to 2027 to make Europe a magnet for researchers.
Officials said the money would fund research projects and help universities cover the cost of bringing foreign scientists over to help run them. Trump has targeted U.S. universities since taking office in January by freezing federal funding, launching investigations, revoking international students' visas, and making other demands. Last week, he said he will revoke Harvard University's tax-exempt status, a move that Harvard said would be an unlawful misuse of the U.S. tax code. Speaking alongside von der Leyen on Monday, French President Emmanuel Macron had this to say.
Personne ne pouvait penser que cette très grande démocratie du monde, dont le modèle économique...
Nobody could have thought that that very great democracy whose economic model relies so much on free science, on innovation, and on its ability over the last 3 decades to innovate more than Europeans and transmitted this innovation more widely, would make such an error. But that's where we are.
But with European universities far less wealthy than their U.S. peers, it remains to be seen if they can bridge the funding gap that is needed to attract top U.S. researchers.
Warren Buffett is giving up one Berkshire Hathaway job, but holding on to another. The conglomerate said Monday the 94-year-old legendary investor will stay on as chairman after Vice Chairman Greg Abel takes over as CEO. The Berkshire board on Sunday approved Abel's promotion, which takes effect January 1st of next year. Berkshire's shares fell as much as 6.8% in Monday trading after Buffett announced on Saturday that he would step down as the company's boss, ending 6 decades at the helm. Although Abel's expected ascension has been known for 4 years, the announcement at Berkshire's annual meeting in Omaha, Nebraska was a surprise. It overshadowed Berkshire's first quarter results, where insurance losses tied to wildfires caused operating profit to fall short of analyst forecasts. Berkshire has 189 businesses, such as Geico Insurance, the BNSF Railroad, Dairy Queen, and See's Candies, and a huge stock portfolio including Apple. The company's stock price has reflected Buffett's success, posting annualized returns that nearly doubled the Standard & Poor's 500 index. Abel and most of the board had not known of Buffett's announcement in advance. Buffett said he had given a heads up to his children Howard and Susie, who are directors. U.S. stocks fell across the board Monday, with the S&P 500 snapping its longest streak of gains in 20 years. The Dow slipped 0.25%, while the S&P 500 dropped 0.6, and the Nasdaq declined about 0.75%. On Sunday, President Donald Trump announced a 100% tariff on movies produced outside the U.S., but provided no details on how such levies would be implemented. Netflix fell to snap an 11-session winning streak, while Amazon.com and Paramount Global were also weaker. Stocks have been volatile since Trump announced his first round of tariffs on April 2nd, with the S&P 500 initially dropping nearly 15%. Only to stabilize and climb for the last 9 straight sessions, its longest streak since 2004. Also Monday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Trump's tariff, tax cut, and deregulation agenda would work together to drive long-term investment to the U.S., adding markets could overcome any short-term turbulence. Summit Place Financial Advisors President Liz Miller says she continues to focus not on the talk, but on the data.
So far, we're following the hard data. We just got employment that continued to remain strong at the end of last week. We got ISM services today, which was stronger than expected to the upside, though it did show higher prices. We do know over the long term, measurably higher tariffs will lead to higher prices. Do those prices stay at the wholesale level, or do they push all the way down to the consumer? Those are the questions that we start trying to analyze broadly now, but we can't make firm conclusions until we really do see the final policies.
The Federal Reserve is scrutinizing the data as well and is expected to hold interest rates steady this week. Other stocks on the move included Class B shares of Berkshire Hathaway, which slid 5% after Warren Buffett said he will step down as CEO of the conglomerate. And Tyson Foods plunged nearly 8% after the meatpacker missed quarterly revenue expectations.
Hugo Boss reported better than expected quarterly results on Tuesday. The German fashion group also kept its full-year forecast despite growing uncertainties in the global economy. The company posted first quarter revenue of $1.13 billion, slightly below last year's figure, but the number beat analyst forecasts. Hugo Boss said it expects group sales this year to stay broadly in line with last year, ranging up to just under $5 billion. Investors liked what they heard, and the retailer's shares soared more than 8% in early trade before scaling back, although the stock has fallen over 11% this year. Hugo Boss warned subdued global consumer sentiment continues to weigh on the fashion sector due to US tariff uncertainty. Luxury groups have struggled with tighter consumer spending, particularly in the US and China. US meal delivery firm DoorDash will buy British rival Deliveroo for $3.85 billion. The companies made the announcement Tuesday. Both firms aim to expand their reach and take on competition. They restarted talks last month after DoorDash approached Deliveroo with a 180 pence per share proposal. Previous negotiations had ended in disagreement over Deliveroo's valuation. The acquisition will help DoorDash grow its market share in Europe and compete against Just Eat and Uber Eats. Britain and Ireland are Deliveroo's largest market and made up for 62% of the value of the orders in its latest quarter. Its other large markets include France and Italy. The firms said they each had orders worth about a combined $90 billion last year. A source said the deal isn't expected to face regulatory hurdles as DoorDash has virtually no presence in Deliveroo's 10 markets.
To the left, please. And together right here, Pharrell. Pharrell, Helen, on the right. And Pharrell. And one more time to the left.
Ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low. They're on the double just as fast as I can. 'Cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, baby.
Well, it's an honor because it celebrates us. You know, one of the most popular, beloved colors on this planet, which is black, and also dandyism, which in my mind is a sport. It's how you feel when you get up in the morning, where you're going, and what the climate or the environment is going to be like.
Hold that, yeah. And Evan to the left, please. Right in front of you. Coco, yours is right here, this camera. Coco, just like that. Coco on the front of the outfit, right? One more, Tiana, here we go. Can I look at me again? Right in front of you. There you go, to the left. Right here, eyes up. Hold it up top.